Well, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Lunchtime News. We have a comprehensive bulletin lined up this afternoon. My name is Jackie Wambiru. Sign language interpreter is Lensa Odingo. Well, you can interact with us on our social media handles at KBC Channel 1. Now, to kick us off, the Institution of Engineers of Kenya is now calling upon the government to address the issue of pending bills that has crippled the sector over time. According to the president of the institution, Shama Kiteme, if addressed, the move will relieve businesses, leading to the opening up of opportunities for the jobless population. Kiteme further expressed the need for the government to focus on industrialization to spur economic growth, arguing that it has proven to be effective in transforming economies globally.
Pending bills will bring immediate relief to many of our engineers and citizens who have gone unpaid for months because the government does not send money to projects that are stalled or stalling. We have seen engineering firms close shops. In our interactions, we have seen firms that have sent home as many as 300 staff. And we believe that this issue of pending bills needs to be addressed even as a new cabinet is reconstituted.
In other news, Garissa elders have come to the defense of embattled Dadaab Member of Parliament Farah Maalim over his ongoing run-ins with the Wiper Party and the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. The elders are asking the Wiper Party National Executive Committee to consider its recent stand to kick him out over inflammatory remarks in an undated video that recently surfaced online. The elders said it was wrong for Kenyans and the opposition-affiliated party to accuse the legislator of incitement before the matter investigations by the relevant authorities is concluded.
Hata bila kufanya upelelezi yote, Mheshimiwa Kalonzo amesema amemtoa Farah. I will call this mob justice.
Na tunalaumu na tunaweka lawama yote kwa wale waliopandika, na tunaomba serikali ifanye upelelezi ya kutosha wenye kupandika yeye hiyo lugha ya kugawagawa na kuleta pamoja.
Wale watu walibadilisha maneno yake namna ambayo hajasema.
And now in other news, we shall be taking a look at environmental matters, where a section of residents from Ziwani Lasco community in Mombasa County are up in arms over the flooding of their playing ground by rainwater mixed with raw sewage. For almost 2 years now, they say the stagnant water has become a breeding ground for mosquitoes and risked their health. While assessing the situation, Mombasa County Transport Executive Dan Manyala said the main problem is the blockage of the county's stormwater drainage system and illegal connection of sewer systems from individual houses to the stormwater drainage system, thus overwhelming it. He, however, undertook to address the matter and ensure the residents live in a clean environment.
Na haya maji ambayo yamejaa hapa ni maradhi matupu. Kama mama wa majengo hapa, hatutakubali.
Maji ya taka yanarudi yamejaa uwanjani Lasco, na sasa yanarudi yakiingia kwenye manyumba. Suluhu ni idara zote za serikali zitafanya kazi kwa pamoja. Kuna idara ya maji iliyoko na ile kitengo tunaita Moasco ama Mombasa Water. Tayari tumeshakaa chini na tayari wako na proposal ya kujenga baadhi ya zile tunaita biodigester, zile za community zenye watajenga kama biodigester moja itachukua kama nyumba 10 kwa pamoja, kwa sababu tunajua kwa sehemu hii hakuna mtaro wa sewage.
And now we cross over to Kilimani, where the leader Eugene Wamalwa is addressing the media, and later on the Orange Democratic Party will also be having a press briefing. For now, let's cross over to where the DAP-K is currently addressing the media.
Being grabbed, property owners in the cities losing their investments through manipulation of leasehold titles, and now a failed attempt to amend the Land Act that would have technically converted freehold titles to leasehold. The Auditor General reports indicate a possible emerging scandal with the Hustler Fund. The house levy that has now raised over 70 billion that the administration is unable to absorb, and hence investing in treasury bills on one hand and still allocating over 75 billion to housing in the current budget. All this with an increasing cost of living, while the executive and cohorts live large, has culminated in the current crisis. The protest initially started with Azimio supporters, who were then pacified by dialogue through NADCO, which was not acted on until the current crisis. The protest by the brave and patriotic Gen Z that want the failed regime to go home have been a strong indictment of the political class. The 25th June is a date that marked the turning point in the history of our politics, as the Gen Z effectively implemented Article 1 of our Constitution, we the people. By Gen Z storming Parliament and taking away the mess, symbolically meant a vote of no confidence in the President William Ruto's government and the 13th Parliament. Consequently, Parliament stands impeached by the people and should be dissolved and fresh elections held for the people to elect a new administration. As Parliament reconvenes soon, the members led by the Speaker should know that in view of their impeachment, their mandate is limited.
Well, that is the DAP-K party there addressing members of for the state, raising various issues affecting the country. Well, we shall be keeping you updated in our subsequent bulletins. For now, we cross over to the National Counter-terrorism Center, where at the moment the review of a draft document is currently underway that seeks to address the emerging threats that incorporate good practices and strengthen our collective resilience against violent extremism at the Pride Inn Hotel. Well, let's cross over and listen in.
Watch out for ourselves and make sure that we are not overtaken by this threat, but we are secure and we are up to date as what is happening elsewhere. So what we are doing is doing a public participation, bringing together all sectors of the community with 8 counties represented here to just go through the draft and hear what all stakeholders have to say about this draft, and to ensure that all views are included. So because we are not the implementers are actually the communities through the mechanism of the county action plans and county engagement forum. Ours is just to coordinate, and therefore when we are delivering this it has to be a joint effort that the implementers then will be part of it, and we will all work together.
Okay. What do you want to achieve with this strategic plan?
We want to achieve a secure country. We want to make sure that we do not have the kind of terrorist attacks we had in the past, and also because we know that there's a lot of now changes. There is a lot of communication, strategic communication by terrorists. There is use of the new technology by terrorists. There is still online radicalization going on. Just to make sure that we as actors, we communities and ourselves as actors in security understand this threat, how it is changing, and that we are able to have security within ourselves.
Now, as now, where are we in terms of enhancing the security across the country?
Well, as far as terrorism is concerned, I must admit that a lot of work has been done. A lot of work has been done under the multi-agency framework. And and a lot of also resilience building programs have been done within communities. We have been implementing the county action plans. Every county is represented an action plan. At the county level, we have the county engagement forum that brings about every stakeholder, so the media, the religious leaders, education sector, security actors, the community leaders, everyone represented there and the economists to make sure that because this threat has manifested itself generically for each county, so that make sure that the issues in the county that perhaps bring vulnerability that contribute the push and pull factors are addressed at that level.
Okay, with this draft right now, where are we with this draft?
Well, it is still a
Well, that is Dr. Rosalind Nyawera, the Director of National Counter-terrorism Center there, addressing members of the fourth estate, stating that the anti-terror strategic launch will be launched in November this year. The move will enhance measures that prevent, detect, deter and disruption of Terrorism Act. Now, moving on, we shall be crossing over to Upper Hill, whereby Macharia Gaitho's lawyer Danson Omari is currently addressing members of the fourth estate regarding Macharia Gaitho's abduction this morning.
That cannot go unpunished. We shall also be launching that complaint shortly, and very many complaints from the media that the people who are the fourth estate have faced the wrath of the police. So we shall not only be reporting one matter. The leadership of the Media Council, the Editors Guild and the others will be putting a claim to you. It is our onerous task that we are brought before you, but we have confidence that you will be able to solve this problem on behalf of the 55 million Kenyans who depend on the media to know exactly where their country is going, what the country wants to do, and what is the solution for the country. Thank you very much. Unless the media personality, the president, can also say one word.
Maybe before we allow them and allow questions, we can hear the complainant.
Yes, again, my name is Macharia Gaitho. It is true that this morning, shortly after I left home, intercepted by an unmarked car, by people in plain clothes. They tried to pull me out of the car, but I did not know who they were. As far as I knew, they could have been criminals. So I refused to get out of the car and I resisted, and my son, who was driving, managed to drive away. We went to Karen police station to seek help, but we were followed into Karen police station and violently bundled into by those same people who I could not identify, and they did not identify themselves, and driven away. For me, that was a case of abduction. But after about 10 minutes or 15, they stopped, they had some of their own conversations, and drove me back to Karen police station. Still, they had not identified themselves. And when I asked them to identify themselves, they refused. Instead, they were slapping me for resisting arrest. And I told them, as far as I know, I'm not resisting arrest, because you are not police officers unless you identify yourselves. At Karen police station, that is when they told me, it was a case of mistaken identity, which of course is a ridiculous thing. But before I went home, I insisted on reporting a crime, which I did. It is in the occurrence book. The next thing was to record a statement. But I was advised by my lawyer, the police will not investigate themselves. so I should come and report it here. And that is why I have come to IPOA. It is well known why IPOA was established as an independent civilian body to regulate the police. But I also know that since this government came to power, it has often trashed the work of IPOA. We know that the National Police Service has been resisting and defying IPOA. And we hope that this time IPOA will assert itself. We do expect justice. I would not add to what my lawyer has said, but we do expect that if indeed those who are police officers, they will be arrested, all of them, and made to bear individual responsibility. But it does not stop there. There is something called command responsibility. Those who sent them out to arrest a citizen in a brutal, illegal manner, and I am not mincing words, the Inspector General of Police, or the Acting Inspector General, the Director of DCI, also responsibility and called to account. And it does not stop there. That is command responsibility within the police service. There is also command responsibility within the government or within the political system. Those who are encouraging officers to act illegally, to brutalize citizens, must also be called to account. We expect nothing less. Finally, I would just like to thank.
Well, that is Macharia Gaitho describing how events unfolded Wednesday morning on his abduction. Gaitho calling for justice and arrest of individuals involved in his abduction this morning. Well, we shall be keeping you updated in our subsequent bulletin. For now, we move on. Now, women leaders in Kericho County have renewed their push for greater representation of women in elective and appointive positions. The women, largely drawn from the county assembly, say they will build on the existing goodwill to elevate women to the highest offices on the land through legislation and active engagement with Kenyans. Kericho County Assembly Women Caucus Chairperson Irene Langat says a bill has been tabled in the County Assembly to champion the cause.
Women have been left out in so many issues, and it is our task, as leaders, that we bring some sort of equality in the society by including women in matters leadership.
I trust and UN Women and Global Affairs Canada conducted a 2-day meeting in Kericho County to train the women leaders and the women-led organizations, and their focal point or the objective of the 2-day training was to train the leaders on budget planning, public participation, lobbying, communication, and essential legislative processes.
We also looked at the budget. We were able to understand that we need to propose issues that promote gender-responsive budget.
Still on matters environment, environmentalists are calling for sufficient environmental impact assessment of the proposed construction of the 500 billion shilling nuclear power plant in Uyombo Village, Matsangoni area, Kilifi County, led by the Executive Director of Center for Justice, Governance and Environmental Action, Phyllis Omido. The expert said that the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, which was set to oversee the construction, process did not conduct adequate public participation of educating the people of the far-reaching negative effects the project would have to the environment.
Tumekuja na experts kutoka dunia nzima, kutoka Russia, kutoka Sweden, kutoka Switzerland and South Africa. Wamekuja kusimama na Uyombo na kusimama na sisi kwa harakati za kutoa utafiti wote ambao tunaweza kutumia. Tuna review ile sasa report, tuna team kutoka Germany na tunataka kutumia hizi ripoti kusimama na wananchi wa Uyombo ambao wamekataa kabisa huu mradi.
Kwa tunasema shirika la Nupea na serikali wasitumie ubabe kuleta mradi hapa. Kuna issue ya public participation, na public participation ama engagement si lazima wananchi wakubali. Si lazima mtu wakubali. Unaweza fanya public participation lakini watu wakasema no. Kwa hivyo wasikie sauti ya watu wa Uyombo.
In other news, the business community in Kitengela Town, Kajiado County, are counting losses following a massive destruction of property and looting during the pro-good governance protest held on Tuesday. They are now calling on the government to ensure safety of their business around, or rather during a protest, which they say have been invaded by goons.
Business owners in Kitengela recount massive losses after their premises were raided during the protest on Tuesday to demand for good governance. They lamented that even after shutting down their premises before the protest, they still suffer destruction of property.
Na kwangu siwezi sema hii ni maandamano sasa. Takama niko kwa hiyo stage ya millennials, mimi hii si maandamano. Sasa hii ni ukola na kuharibia watu kazi. Kwa sababu sasa sisi ni kama wametuharibia kazi na tulikuwa mahali tulikuwa tunatafutia watoto uga na kwa saa hizi hatujui venye kunaweza tendeka.
During the clashes between stone-throwing protesters and armed police, one protester was reportedly shot dead by police. The traders are now calling on government to give them assurance that their property will be protected in future protests.
So, mmeona tu vile tuligongewa jana na watu wa maandamano wakaingia na wakapora mali mingi. Walitupora kusema kweli, hata mnaona vile vitu zimeanguka chini na vile wamegonga vioo.
Sasa leo tunang'ang'ana kuondoa mawe kwa barabara na mmechafua mji yetu ya Kitengela. Kwa hivyo tunawaomba kama hii ndio demonstration yeli iishe.
Pizza Inn, Creamy Inn, Chicken Inn, Superloaf Bakery, gas cylinders distributors, general food suppliers were some of the businesses affected. In Kibwezi, Makueni County, 2 people were shot dead while scores of others sustained bullet injuries during similar protests. The duo, both men, are alleged to have been shot by police officers who were quelling the demonstrators in Kibwezi town. This angered the protesters, who then moved the bodies on hospital stretchers to Kibwezi police station.
Tunataka haki yetu. Hawafai kuua watu. Hawafai kuua watu. Maandamano ni maandamano, tuna haki ya kuandamana. Yaani wanaua watu. Kwa vijana wenye wameuawa. We want to know the people who shot our friends. And yes, haki lazima ifanyike. Why are they using live bullets?
Upon reaching the station's main entrance, they were reportedly repulsed by police officers who shot in the air, forcing them to abandon the bodies at the entrance of the police station.
The residents of Uriri sub-location in Gem, Wagaisia County are up in arms against Kenya Power Company, whom they accuse of doing nothing to save them from prolonged darkness that has hit the area for more than 4 months. Now, speaking to the media during a peaceful demonstration to press the company to hear their plight, the residents, led by Shadrach Paul and Walter Fwanga, lamented that the village was thrown into darkness when the company officials took the transformer away for maintenance, never to return it.
Insecurity in Uriri for the longest time, you can tell. And the insecurity issue is brought about because we have lacked electricity for a long time now, about 3 to 4 months.
Dispensary here that use electricity. We've got Uriri Primary School around here that uses electricity as well. We also have Orezongeli that uses electricity as well.
Naomba serikali wakuja wachunguze na watusaidie ili tukae vizuri na tupate chochote chenye tunataka, ndio maisha iendelee vizuri.
Well, that report brings us to our first break here on Lunchtime News. Don't go too far, we still have more news coming up in business and sports.
Unajua, token mita yako inahitaji system update. Ni rahisi na ni free. Ukipata ujumbe kutoka Kenya Power, yani SMS, weka kodi ya kwanza kureset, alafu weke kodi ya pili kuupdate ili token mita yako iendelee kufanya kazi kama kawaida. Update token mita yako. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Kenya Power and Lighting Company.
Enjoy na GoTV. Beste yako wafuta. Tuna-connect na ligi zote. Jishikie GoTV leo ujinice na the best futa live on Supersport. GoTV. Love it.
Are you looking for a brand-growing outdoor advertising with beautiful simplicity and an artistically inspired choice? Look no further. Our 40 years of credible reputation and experience will give you exceptional brand traction. Get your brand on the talk with City Clock.
Welcome back. This is Lunchtime News. Over the years, the Kenya Defence Forces have represented the country in countless peace missions around the world. They have also won numerous awards for representing the country in various sporting events, including the Olympics. Lieutenant Colonel Aggrey Mwambi represented the army and country in the sport of boxing and even rubbed shoulders with legendary American boxer Muhammad Ali. He also served in the Army and the Ordnance Corps. For 38 years, he had a sit-down with Ben Troy at his home in Taita Taveta County for this week's edition of Military Tales. Let's have a look.
We travel about 400 kilometers from Kenya's capital Nairobi to Taita Taveta County, deep into the famous Tsavo West National Park for a scheduled meeting with a military veteran.
One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about military tales is that I get to travel a lot, meet people of diverse cultures and backgrounds. Right now we are in Mwatate in Taita Taveta County. Actually, Tsavo West is a few kilometers from where we are standing. And we're here to meet one military veteran by the name of Lieutenant Colonel Aggrey Mwambi. His story is very interesting and very inspirational to young serving officers. He started as a private and rose the ranks to become a commissioned officer. We are here to file his story. He's been waiting for us. So let's go.
Aggrey Mwambi was born over 60 years ago in Ruringo, Nyeri County. Lieutenant Colonel Aggrey Mwambi served the Kenya Army for 38 years and he shares his story. As a young man, Colonel Mwambi loved boxing, which was very instrumental in him joining the Kenya Defence Forces in 1978.
I was in school. I used to be a sportsman. I used to be a boxer. So through your boxing, I got interested. Most of my friends were from the army. So I got interested in joining the army. And as such, nikapata hiyo fursa 1974 recruit, nikakuja hapa nyumbani nikaandikwa, nikaingia kwa jeshi. The training Lanet 3 care katrainia hapo, alafu hata posting yangu ilipotokezea pia ikawa nimekuwa posted the same place 3 care. When nika 3 care for 3 years, ndio nika change sasa corps, nikakuja kitu inaitwa Kenya Army Ordnance Corps. That is way back in 1978. Yeah. After 3 care basically ilikuwa ni infantry. Hiyo ni mambo ya kupigana nini. Kuingia ordnance logistics, nikafanya kazi ya storekeeping. Kawa storekeeper, stores clerk, purchasing clerk. Ndio hapo sasa nikaanza ku scale the ladder promotions.
Lieutenant Colonel Mwambi started as a non-commissioned officer, a private, and would rise the ranks to become a commissioned officer, a journey, he says, was very dear to his heart.
Niwachana boxing 1980. Because I'd gone to USA, kapata injury, hiyo injury kawa ni mbaya sana, siwezi endelea na boxing. Kawa nimewachana boxing. So from 1980 I went sasa deep, yani kukaa kwa kazi kabisa. So that 1980 nikaanza kupata promotions zangu ku ascend the ladder. Remember 1980 I was a corporal, 1981 I got a sergeant, 82 I was a senior sergeant, 83, 84 there. Kapata kitu inaitwa warrant officer class 2. And that's where I commissioned from warrant officer class 2. Karuka ladder nka ingia kwa commissioned officer.
He later on joined the Ordnance Corps, and he explains what his work entailed.
Kenya Army Ordnance, that's where now I spent my whole life in the military. Because hapo ndio nilienda nika train as a kwanza basically unatrainiwa kama ordnance storekeeper. From your storekeeper mimi nikatrainiwa tena further as a ordnance clerk. So unafanya mambo ya procurement nini. So from there, that is where career yangu sasa nilipasu nikiwa hapo. Ordnance kawaida ni mambo ya supplies. Kama chakula yote inatoka ordnance, we train cooks, we train tailors. Ordnance sema ndio kama logistic hub ya jeshi. Yeah. Kitaka supplies zote, uniforms nini zinatoka ordnance, ndio tunapeleka kwa other units.
His biggest achievement in the forces was scaling the heights from a non-commissioned officer to a commissioned officer, and has a word of advice to those who like to follow suit.
Ile kitu naweza upatia, uzuri wa jeshi iko na masomo inapatiana. Unaweza ingia kama wewe ni standard 7, lakini hata degree utapata ukiwa kwa jeshi. Because kuna correspondence, you are allowed to do private studies zako as long as they are not interfering with your working schedule. So kitu ningesema naweza kuelezea ni ukiingia, don't stop at where you join. Endelea kujipandisha both career wise na academically.
Having served the army for almost 4 decades, he picked vital lessons from the forces.
Jeshi na kufundisha sana wewe kuwa mtu unajitegemea. Yani you can stand on your own regardless of the difficulties which you are facing. It teaches you how to be a true man or a true lady. It gives you that hard behavior. Like I remember one of our instructors when we were cadets, alikuwa anatuambia make a man go through the wall without breaking the wall. Ujikute tu kwa the other side of the wall. So such things teach you a lot of, perseverance.
Doubling up his boxing career and his military duties, he says the army gave him and his fellow athletes ample time to train and attend boxing events around the world. He also became a boxing referee.
Nilikuwa orthodox, nilianzia nikiwa light fly. Nikacheza fly, nikacheza bantam, nikacheza feather, nikaja kuachia light welter 63.5. Sasa ukiwa kwa jeshi na uko kwa mchezo, jeshi inakupatia very good opportunity ya kufanya training the whole day. Wewe ukitoka tu asubuhi ukiamka, either you're in the kiwanja ya mbio ama uko kwa gym ya boxing ama uko whatever sport you do, football nini, they give you ample time ya ku properly indulge in that sport you're doing. They give you those facilities are there. I told you I was in boxing. We used to do boxing throughout from January to January. You only get a break when you're going on leave.
The former pugilist has a message to athletes in the forces, especially those that will represent Kenya in the upcoming Paris Summer Olympics.
My advice ni kuwa watu wazidi kutia bidii, na isikue tu mtu anataka tu kucheza ati aonekane kwa gazeti Kenya Nation. Takana ukicheza, unacheza, unaenda unawakilisha kama wale wanaenda Olympic, wangangane sana upate medals kama gold, silver na bronze. Hiyo pia it is also economically attract tourists to our country.
As a former professional boxer, Mwambi is perturbed by the declining levels of boxing in the country, with 2024 team not having qualified for the Paris Olympics for the first time in 60 years.
4 years from now, up to the time when people are going for the Olympics, wakisha wamefanya high performance kama 5-4, ni watu wameenda pengine Bangkok wameshinda gold, wameenda wapi wameshinda bronze, yani ile build up iko.
As an army boxer, he had a rare experience to travel to the USA and train in legendary boxer Muhammad Ali's boxing club.
I was able to represent Kenya. Kama 1980 nakwambia nilienda achia boxing nikiwa USA, nilienda Washington DC, kupigana na klabu ya Muhammad Ali. The legend tulitrain kwa klabu yake na tukacheza na timu yake. Select UA, yani US Select versus Kenya Select. Tukacheza na wao.
Kano also participated in peacekeeping missions in the region and shares his experiences in Sudan.
United Nations mission in Sudan. Yeah. Niko based in Khartoum. Nimetembeza station karibu zote za Southern Sudan hizo. Kitu niliona sana, kwa wale watu wako na self liking, yani kama akikuona wewe si mtu, akiona mtu wako ndio naona huyu ndio mtu. So Kenya kitu ambaye naweza kuelezea watu wengi ili tuwe na amani ile amana, sote tujitreat kama equals na sote tuwe ndugu na dada. Sisi wote ni wa Kenya, tujitreat kama Mkenya, and we should love the name Kenya.
Now retired, the Kano is involved in farming and business. Is also the Defense Forces Old Comrades Association chairman in Taita Taveta County.
No, sasa ukiangalia tunaona tu mahindi hapo. Haya, sengine anafanya silicon logistics, sengine anafanya supplies, hata naweza nenda kwa jeshi hapo naambia, "Yes, mnipatie hizi pencil 5 na walete." Anafanya hiyo. Una survive.
Despite his advanced age, the Kano is still active in boxing and has embarked on mentoring youths in Taita.
Mambo ya sema development ya kama kijiji yetu, mambo ya umoja, community working. Na sana as I told you ni boxer, pia ina interest mingi kwa boxing. Kuna club kama hapo Mwatati, singine naingia kule na chemsha vijana, kujaribu kwa encourage wa good boxers.
A family man with 2 children, Mwambi enjoys spending time with his family. His parting shot:
Kenya is a strong country, it's been good, but let me tell you, a country kuharibika just takes a day. I would really ask Kenyans to be tolerant. Economically, we are not doing well, and I don't think we can improve that economy within 1 year. It should be gradual, and that graduality should be planned in such a way. Usikii kwa mfuko, yani okay, utaisikia kwa mfuko lakini haiumizi. Ni kitu ile inaweza kunini? You can accommodate.
Once a sportsman, always a sportsman. Mwambi is optimistic that Kenya will reclaim its lost glory in boxing.
Kano.
Yeah.
Tumeshukuru sana kwa muda wako na pia kwa kukaribisha kwako.
Nimeshukuru.
For Military Tales, I'm Ben Troy Njue.
Well, thank you so much, Ben Troy, for that report. Now, family in Serengeti area of Magarini constituency, Kilifi County, is worried following the alleged abduction of Karisa Mai, a 41-year-old father of 5, by people believed to be security agents. Karisa Mai is said to have been yanked out of a public service vehicle in the Arabuko area along the Kilifi-Malindi road, and his whereabouts are unknown. According to witnesses traveling in the same matatu with Mai, 3 vehicles with private registration numbers they blocked the matatu before the man was taken.
Anzia jana mtoto wangu wametekwa nyara Mtoto wangu ana kesi toka mwezi wa pili. Mtoto wangu anawindwa paka kotini. Mimi naomba serikali mtafutie mtoto wangu. Mtoto wangu ametekwa nyara. Ni magari sijui matatu. Nataka mtoto wangu mimi, nataka mtoto wangu.
Tokeo la hapo ilipofikia jana, alipokuwa saa 11 asubuhi anapeleka mtoto wake shule. Alipofika shule alinipigia simu saa 9 jioni. Akanambia mtoto ameingia darasani, lakini mimi saa hii ndo naanza kutoka safari yangu. Na mimi nilipofika saa 11 nikaanza kumpigia simu na nikamkosa. Kwa hivyo naomba haki itendeke. Huyo ni mume wangu na niko na watoto na wanataka kusoma.
And across borders, former United States of America President and presidential candidate Donald Trump's security has been boosted following an assassination attempt during a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. And Rwandan President Paul Kagame is set to serve a fourth term after bagging majority of the votes cast. Details of these in our roundup of international news.
According to the U.S. national security officials, the U.S. Secret Service and the Trump campaign were notified of the alleged Iranian threat and assassination attempt on the former president, and that security was increased as a result. However, the Iranian mission at the United Nations have termed the allegations unsubstantiated and malicious, adding that Trump was a criminal who must be prosecuted and punished in a court of law. And Rwandan President Paul Kagame is set to serve his fourth term after garnering 99% of the votes counted. This is according to preliminary election results released by the country's electoral body. Kagame, who has been in power in various roles since 1994, won by a similar margin in 2017.
Now let's talk business. The government plans to upgrade key attractions along the coast of Kenya to attract more tourists. Tourism Principal Secretary John Ololtua says a seawater pond painted on the African map in Kwale County is among the attractions that will be upgraded to boost the number of visitors to the Kenyan coastline.
Hii map of Africa yenu hii ni dhahabu kubwa sana, is a gold, ambaye tukifocus na kumarket na kuionyesha ulimwengu, wale wageni tu kuja watakuja kuona hiyo map of Africa peke yake, utashangaa. So kuna mambo tumekubaliana na county government ambaye inaonekana ni kidogo, lakini ikiinuliwa itainua utalii eneo hili. So mojawapo ni hiyo map of Africa. Ya pili ni beach operators market ambayo tunaongoja designs ili tukuje tuangalie. Ya tatu ni hiyo program ya street lights ambaye pia tunaongoja county government wapange, tuangalie vile tutasaidiana.
Tutaweza kuleta beach management bill ambayo tutaizungusha kwa wananchi wapate kuielewa vizuri, wapate kutoa maoni yao ili tukubaliane ni jinsi gani sisi tutaweza kudhibiti hii beach. Ndio ikiambiwa ni beach bora, hata sisi tunajivunia zaidi.
Digital insurance platform MTech has partnered with WorkPay to simplify access and enable employees to purchase insurance coverage on the WorkPay system. The solution targets employees whose employers are using WorkPay for HR and payroll management.
At 3%, Kenya has the third lowest insurance penetration rate in sub-Saharan Africa, with South Africa leading at 17%. The collaboration to simplify access and enable employees to purchase insurance coverage comes after the integration of WorkPay's platform, which enhances human resource and payroll processes with MTech's digital insurance offerings. It allows employees and other users of the WorkPay platform to easily compare and procure insurance products tailored to their diverse needs, spanning motor, health, life, and general insurance options.
The MTech and WorkPay partnership is really being driven by the shared vision to increase financial stability, security, and protection for all employees. So we're really looking to increase protection to all employees in Kenya.
This move is expected to drive higher insurance penetration rates, particularly among employees who have not previously had the resources or knowledge to secure comprehensive coverage.
Our business is driven on ensuring that employees are protected, paid, and managed effectively. We wanted to create a seamless solution that helps them access our facilities like insurance easily.
Betty Kiptum, Lunchtime News.
Close to 60,000 households in Busia County are set to benefit from energy-efficient cooking stoves. Speaking during a local consultative meeting, the county's Director of Energy, Mark Juma, says the efficient cook stoves will be acquired at a subsidized fee in a bid to deal with climate change and improve the health of locals.
Been used in cooking stoves since the 1980s due to the significant positive health, environmental and economic impacts on improving the quality of life. However, some regions like Busia County, where 95% of the population uses firewood, are yet to benefit from the new stoves. The county's Director of Energy says the new enhanced stoves aim to reduce the use of firewood to prevent deforestation and prevalence of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
Saa zingine unapata baba anarudi chakula kijaiva, anapiga mama na pengine mama alikosa kuni. But kwa sababu mradi utatumia ilo jiko litatumia kuni chache, I think itafanya chakula kiive kwa haraka na kiive vizuri.
The 7 years project that targets Siaya and Busia counties will see residents transition from 3 stones cooking to efficient stoves.
And our aim as a carbon offset project is to reduce the emissions of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. As you all know, carbon dioxide is one of the greenhouse gases responsible for climate change and global warming.
What is the technology that we want to bring? What is the kind of stove that we want to bring to ease or to reduce the amount of firewood and to reduce the amount of emission that goes into the atmosphere?
Ian Muse, Lunchtime News.
Upcoming scientists have been encouraged to take advantage of the upcoming National Science and Technology Annual Exhibition 2024 to showcase their talents. Young Scientist Kenya Chairman Ben Roberts says this year's edition has so far attracted over 1,700 participants, representing a 138% increase in submissions compared to last year. During the launch event for the exhibition, the officials noted that the STEM approach to education is key to foster creativity and encourage the youth to generate new technologies and ideas that solve problems in their communities. This year's exhibition is scheduled to take place in August.
We have reached over 250,000 students in the last 8 years, and that is through various activities, outreach, and so on. And those are from 750 schools. 750 schools across 47 counties. And of that, very proud of this, that we have also been active in special needs schools, 20 to date, and we hope to get to more schools.
It enables you and generations who went before you and after you to go on that journey of curiosity, learning, self-development, but also creating real new steps forward. Science out of school, it takes science outside a textbook. This is science by doing, by experimenting, by projects. It's real science, and the students are doing it, and that's the secret of the success of the competition. Even if you don't win, many develop careers in science and engineering, very significant careers in research.
Passengers traveling by air in Nigeria from Lagos to various destinations like Abuja, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, Owerri and Kano are now switching to the road over the continuous surge in airfares. The average price for a one-way ticket to any destination has surged by over 150,000 naira in 1 year. Meanwhile, the average price of a one-way trip from Lagos to Abuja now costs 143,000 naira against 51,000 naira sold last year, indicating a 180.4% increase in prices. Details of these and more stories making headlines across Africa.
Nigerian airlines have continued to struggle to carry out seamless flight operations as a result of aviation fuel prices, with the price of aviation fuel, also known as Jet A1, which cost about 230 naira to 250 naira per litre last year, rising above 600 naira across all airports in the country. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics show that the average fare paid by air passengers for specific route single journey was 89,432 naira in May 2024, showing an increase of 0.27% compared to the previous months. However, the Chief Operating Officer of United Nigeria Airline has said that the major factors contributing to the increase in flight tickets were charges paid by airlines for the use of airports in the country, including the high cost of aviation fuel and other charges paid to aviation agencies. Meanwhile, the South African Nuclear Energy Corporation has expressed hope that the National Nuclear Regulator will extend the operating license of Unit 2 at Coburg Nuclear Power Station for a further 20 years after granting the same unit to Unit 1, which will provide 930 megawatts to the grid for another 20 years until 21st July 2044. ESCOM, which has operated the Coburg Nuclear Power Station safely for 40 years, has invested in safety improvements and extensive maintenance to ensure it continues to operate safely into the future. Finally, in Malawi, the National Planning Commission says efforts to develop commercial agriculture through irrigation have culminated in a marginal increase of 1.28% between 2022 and 2023, despite the pomp associated with the Mega Farms initiative. The Malawi 2063 First 10-Year Implementation Plan, progress by National Planning Commission, shows that there has been an additional 1,884 hectares over the period, increasing a national irrigation production hectare to 148,850. Lorraine Chepchirchir for Lunchtime News.
Russian antivirus giant Kaspersky Labs has announced plans to quit the US market after Washington banned the sale and distribution of the company's software. Kaspersky said it had made the sad and difficult decision to leave as business opportunities in the country are no longer viable. It comes after Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo said last month that Moscow's influence over the company poses a significant risk to U.S. infrastructure and services. Kaspersky, which had been operating in the U.S. for 2 decades, has denied the allegations. Details of these and other stories in the business news across the globe.
According to the Commerce Department, the Moscow headquartered multinational company has offices in 31 countries around the world, servicing more than 400 million users and 270,000 corporate clients in more than 200 countries. A statement from Kaspersky says starting from July 20th, the company will gradually wind down its U.S. operations and eliminate U.S.-based positions. Its U.S. website has already stopped selling its antivirus and cybersecurity tools. The announcement comes after sales and distribution of Kaspersky products were banned in the U.S. The ruling used broad powers created by the Trump administration to ban or restrict transactions between U.S. firms and technology companies from foreign adversary nations like Russia and China. Elsewhere, Germany's Allianz will buy a majority stake in Singapore's income insurance for around $1.6 billion. This comes as the insurance sector is experiencing consolidation and increased deal activity. The acquisition will significantly mark its key milestone in strategic ambition to expand and strengthen its presence given its status as the financial services hub. The transaction is subject to regulatory approval. And finally, UK-based banking conglomerate HSBC has announced Georges El-Hedary will be its next chief executive. El-Hedary joined HSBC in 2005 and is currently the firm's finance chief. He is expected to take up his new role from 2nd of September. In his time at HSBC, Mr. El-Hedary has held several roles, including being the co-head of the business that houses its trading and investment banking advisory operations. In April, the lender reported a 1.8% drop in profit for the first 3 months of 2024 compared to the same time last year. The company said its pre-tax profit for the period came in at $12.7 billion, which was a little better than expected by market analysts. Anne Mwendoa for Lunchtime News.
And now let's take a look at sports news, where national rugby under-20 team Chipu will face Hong Kong, China this afternoon in the 7th place playoff match at the World Rugby Under-20 Trophy in Scotland. The team was relegated to classification matches after losing all their matches to finish last in Pool B. Hong Kong, China also completed their group campaign empty-handed. After losing all their matches, the final match pits the US against host Scotland at the Hive Stadium in Edinburgh. The World Rugby Under-20 Trophy 2024 has brought together 8 teams fighting for promotion to the World Rugby Under-20 Championship 2025. Kenya is participating in the event for the 3rd time after hosting the championship in 2009, and last year the team qualified for the global event after winning the Rugby Africa Under-20 Baths Trophy in April this year in Harare, Zimbabwe. Now, 400 meters Africa silver medalist Kelvin Kipkorir will join the 4x400 meters mixed relay team currently training in Miramas, France, later this week in preparation for the Paris Olympic Games, which will be aired live on KBC Channel 1.
Wambiru is rejoining the Kenyan 4x400 meter mixed relay team to the Paris Olympics after previously being dropped for failure to meet the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya and the Athletics Integrity Unit requirements.
There were issues that was being looked into by Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, by AIU and Athletics Kenya. And of course, as a country, we are always being guided by Rule 15 and the specifications that we have to follow. 7 countries are affected by that, and we cannot operate freely like any other country in the world. So we have to follow certain stringent rules that must be followed. And of course, there was some enhancement by AIU that those countries which are affected must stick to those rules. One of them, which was part of the enhancement by those rules, came about in May this year, on the 3rd, that if an athlete has not been tested once within the 10 months, that is the 3rd of May, will not be allowed to compete during the trials, because otherwise they will not meet the requirement that they have to be tested 3 times out of competition and 1 in-competition test.
Team Kenya officials have already appealed to the Athletics Integrity Unit and World Athletics to allow Kipkorir to compete in Paris.
It was a technical issue or an error that occurred, that in between the test on the 4th of May, not 5th of April, the test was conducted, and then another one followed on the 23rd of May, and now 23rd of April, and thereafter, counting the days, which is a minimum between the tests is 21 days, that period was only 18 days, and that also affected that.
The relay team and sprinters are in residential camp in Miramas in preparation for the Olympic Games, with athletics set to be held between 1st and 11th of next month.
The relay team was selected at the last minute because Kenya did not qualify automatically. They was ranked number 16, and therefore the country had to wait until midnight of the 3rd of July to see whether World Athletics has included Kenya in the relay competition. It came about that we were lucky to have met that team, number 16, and on the 4th, The results was released by World Athletics, and we were there.
Kenya will be competing in women volleyball, men's rugby sevens, judo, fencing, swimming and athletics, with the 33rd edition of the Olympic Games set to begin next week.
And indeed, the Paris 2024 Olympic Games will be aired live on KBC Channel 1. Well, that brings us to the end of our bulletin this afternoon. Thank you so much for choosing Lunchtime News. My name is Wambiru, sign language interpreter as Lensa Odingo. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon.